Samurai films from the 1970s didn't just tell stories of swords and honor, they rewrote the whole playbook for Hollywood action and revenge movies. These weren't your polite, noble samurai. They were gritty, violent, and complicated heroes who made audiences rethink what a warrior really looks like. Ever wondered how Hollywood went from cowboy hats to katana blades? Well, buckle up, because we're diving deep into the 70s samurai flicks that shook Tinseltown and left their bloody mark on cinema forever. Lone Wolf and Cub, 1972-1974. If you think Hollywood's revenge flicks are intense now, you haven't seen Lone Wolf and Cub, the gritty samurai saga that raised the bar for dark, violent storytelling. Based on the manga series, this sprawling film saga follows Ogami Ito, a disgraced executioner turned assassin who wanders the countryside with his toddler son. Together, they carve a path soaked in blood and honor. What sets Lone Wolf and Cub apart is how it balances brutal action with heartbreaking father-son moments. This wasn't just about sword fights. It was about survival, loyalty, and a man trying to protect what little he has left in a hostile world. The fight scenes? They're choreographed with a savage elegance, each slash and thrust feeling like a desperate battle for life itself. Hollywood took notice, especially filmmakers like Quentin Tarantino, who openly cites Lone Wolf and Cub as a massive influence on his Kill Bill series. That iconic blend of stylized violence and a revenge-driven narrative? Yeah, it started here. The films popularized the anti-hero samurai archetype, painting warriors as flawed humans rather than untouchable legends. This gritty realism and emotional depth were a huge departure from older, more romantic samurai portrayals, and it's a shift Hollywood eagerly embraced. The series' success also paved the way for more complex female leads and morally ambiguous characters in action cinema, something Hollywood was just beginning to explore. So, when you watch modern revenge epics or stylized sword fights, you're witnessing the legacy of Lone Wolf and Cub's fearless reinvention of samurai cinema. In short, this series took the simple revenge story and turned it into a poetic, bloody dance. One that Hollywood couldn't resist copying and reinventing. Without Lone Wolf and Cub, the revenge genre as we know it might never have gotten so intense or personal. Lady Snowblood, 1973. If Lone Wolf and Cub is the blueprint, then Lady Snowblood is the masterpiece of 70s samurai revenge cinema, and Hollywood felt the shockwave hard. This film introduced the world to Yuki, a stunning yet deadly assassin hell-bent on avenging her family's brutal destruction. The premise is simple but potent. One woman, one mission, and a trail of enemies who never see her coming. What makes Lady Snowblood unforgettable is its style. Director Toshiya Fujita crafts each scene like a deadly poem. Slow-motion gunshots, blood splatters framed like art, and a haunting score that lingers long after the credits roll. The film's mix of beauty and brutality captured audiences worldwide, breaking the mold of traditional samurai stories that mostly featured male warriors. Hollywood couldn't ignore the impact. The film's influence is crystal clear in Quentin Tarantino's Kill Bill, where Uma Thurman's character draws heavily from Yuki's icy determination and lethal grace. Lady Snowblood brought a fierce, female-driven narrative into a genre often dominated by men, inspiring Hollywood to explore revenge stories with more depth and complexity, and with women front and center. Beyond style, the film digs into themes of fate, justice, and the price of revenge. Yuki's journey isn't just about killing her enemies. It's a dark meditation on what revenge does to a person. That psychological edge gave Hollywood filmmakers a new way to think about anti-heroes, moving beyond simple good versus evil plots. The legacy of Lady Snowblood is everywhere, from the slick revenge thrillers of the 90s to today's action films that blend poetry and violence. It showed that samurai stories could be bold, beautiful, and brutal all at once, and that they could speak to audiences across cultures and decades. Samurai Rebellion, 1970. Samurai drama doesn't get much heavier than Masaki Kobayashi's Samurai Rebellion, a film that flips the usual samurai story on its head by exposing the cracks in the honor code everyone thought was unbreakable. This isn't a tale of heroic duels and clear-cut justice. It's a brutal, emotionally charged fight between a father and a corrupt system that values power over people. The story centers on Isaburo Sasahara, an aging samurai who finds himself caught in a bitter battle with his clan's tyrannical leader after refusing to let his son marry the daughter of the lord's favorite concubine. What follows is a tense, slow-burning rebellion driven by principle and paternal love rather than revenge or glory. The emotional core is razor-sharp. Here's a man who knows the samurai way, but realizes the system is rotten to the core. Samurai Rebellion shines through its raw emotional weight and uncompromising swordplay. Kobayashi's direction gives every duel a sense of real danger, where a single stroke could mean death, and every choice carries devastating consequences. The slow pacing lets the tension simmer, drawing you into the character's torment and honor-bound despair. Hollywood took notice, especially during the 70s, as American Westerns were also questioning their myths of heroism and justice. Films like The Wild Bunch and McCabe and Mrs. Miller were rewriting the cowboy legend, much like Samurai Rebellion was deconstructing the samurai myth. Both genres explored flawed heroes stuck in fading worlds, battling forces bigger than themselves. The film's influence echoes in Hollywood's move toward morally complex characters and gritty realism. It showed that a samurai or a cowboy could be deeply human, vulnerable, and conflicted rather than untouchable icons. This shift opened doors for stories that questioned authority and explored rebellion from an intimate, personal angle. Samurai Rebellion didn't just influence Hollywood in style, but also in spirit. It proved that samurai cinema could be a vehicle for serious social critique, not just flashy sword fights. This blend of artistry and raw emotion inspired filmmakers worldwide and helped shape a more nuanced action cinema where honor and humanity collide. Simply put, Samurai Rebellion is the kind of film that punches you in the gut while making you think, and Hollywood's heroes have never quite been the same since. Sword of the Beast, 1970. If betrayal and survival sound like the perfect ingredients for a gritty thriller, then Sword of the Beast delivers them in spades, with samurai swords slicing through every scene. Directed by Hideo Gosha, this film tells the story of Genosuke, a samurai on the run after being framed by his clan for treason. The stakes? His life, his honor, and a harsh world that's quick to turn its back. What makes Sword of the Beast stand out is its cold, relentless pace and unflinching portrayal of a man stripped of everything. Genosuke's journey is a desperate scramble to clear his name and survive against overwhelming odds. The film dives deep into themes of loyalty, betrayal, and the brutal price of honor in a changing Japan. The battle scenes aren't just showy sword fights. They're raw, brutal, and claustrophobic, reflecting Genosuke's shrinking world as he's hunted by assassins and enemies alike. The film's bleak atmosphere and moral ambiguity were a sharp turn away from romanticized samurai tales, leaning instead into the harsh realities faced by warriors in a collapsing feudal order. Hollywood in the 70s was ripe for this kind of story. As Westerns evolved into revisionist dramas, Hollywood filmmakers embraced anti-heroes who were flawed, desperate, and morally gray. Sword of the Beast's narrative of a hunted man fighting for survival mirrored the tone of American films like The Outlaw Josie Wales and Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. Beyond plot, the film's gritty realism and psychological complexity raised the bar for samurai cinema internationally. It proved that samurai stories could be intense character studies, not just action-packed epics. This approach inspired Hollywood's later samurai-inspired films and action thrillers that focus on internal struggles as much as external fights. In a way, Sword of the Beast is a bridge between old samurai honor and new cinematic cynicism, perfectly timed to influence Hollywood's 70s fascination with morally complex loners fighting impossible battles. The legacy? This film helped redefine what it meant to be a warrior on screen, not just a symbol of honor, but a human being caught in a brutal, unforgiving world. Hollywood's anti-heroes owe a lot to this raw, relentless tale from Japan's samurai past. Bandits vs. Samurai Squadron 1978. In the thick of 1970s samurai cinema, Bandits vs. Samurai Squadron stands out as a gritty and thrilling clash of lawlessness and order that caught Hollywood's attention for its raw energy and layered storytelling. Directed by Hideo Gosha, this film throws you into a brutal showdown between ruthless bandits and a samurai clan desperate to maintain control during Japan's chaotic Edo period. What makes this film a powerhouse is its unflinching portrayal of violence and honor, but not in the sanitized way older samurai films tended to do. Here, warriors and outlaws alike are driven by desperation, greed, and survival instincts, painting a morally gray picture that Hollywood found refreshing. The samurai aren't saints, and the bandits aren't just villains. They're all fighting for their version of justice in a brutal world. The battle scenes are fierce and chaotic, breaking from traditional choreography to showcase a raw, visceral energy that influenced Western action films. Hollywood filmmakers noticed the intensity and complexity and started incorporating similar gritty, realistic fights in their own movies, especially as the 70s ushered in revisionist westerns and anti-hero narratives. But beyond the action, Bandits vs. Samurai Squadron digs into themes of loyalty and betrayal, showing how fragile honor can be when survival is on the line. These themes resonated with Hollywood's move toward darker, more nuanced storytelling, moving away from clear-cut heroes to flawed, conflicted characters. Its impact can be seen in American and European films that blended intense action with moral complexity, setting the stage for the modern anti-hero. The film also helped pave the way for Hollywood's fascination with samurai films that weren't just about swordplay, but about the human drama behind the blade. In essence, Bandits vs. Samurai Squadron is a brutal, smart, and stylish samurai film that pushed boundaries in the 70s and left a mark on Hollywood's evolving action genre. If you want to see where raw violence meets deep storytelling, this film is a perfect example of samurai cinema influencing the West. The Yakuza 1974. The Yakuza is a fascinating hybrid, a Hollywood film steeped in Japanese culture and samurai ethos, but starring an American icon, Robert Mitchum. Directed by Sidney Pollack, it tells the story of a retired American detective returning to Tokyo to rescue a friend's kidnapped daughter, only to get tangled in the dangerous world of the Yakuza, Japan's notorious crime syndicate. What makes this film stand out isn't just the thrilling crime drama, but how it borrows samurai codes of honor and loyalty to add depth and tension. The film is drenched in samurai spirit, from the ritualistic tattoos to the solemn, deadly duels. The Yakuza characters aren't just criminals, they're bound by a strict honor code that echoes samurai values. Mitchum's character, caught between Western pragmatism and Eastern tradition, personifies the cultural clash and fusion at the heart of the film. The Yakuza was a big deal because it introduced Hollywood audiences to the complex moral universe of samurai-like loyalty beyond Japan's borders. It wasn't just about swords anymore. It was about how these timeless codes could survive and adapt in a modern, violent world. The movie's mix of noir crime and samurai drama created a new hybrid genre that Hollywood found irresistible. Its impact on Hollywood is seen in countless films that followed, blending Eastern honor codes with Western storytelling. Directors began exploring how samurai ethics could add emotional weight to crime dramas, action thrillers, and even Westerns. You can trace lines from the Yakuza to films like Ghost Dog, The Way of the Samurai, and Quentin Tarantino's samurai-infused narratives. Moreover, the film helped solidify Japanese samurai aesthetics as a powerful storytelling tool in Hollywood, influencing everything from fight choreography to character motivations. It opened doors for future cross-cultural collaborations, showing that samurai stories could be universal tales about loyalty, betrayal, and redemption. In short, the Yakuza isn't just a crime thriller, it's a cultural bridge. It brought samurai philosophy into Hollywood's mainstream consciousness, blending East and West in a stylish, gritty package. Its legacy is the ongoing fascination with samurai codes in American cinema's toughest, most complicated heroes. Lady Snowblood, Love Song of Vengeance, 1974. Building on the explosive success of Lady Snowblood, 1973, Lady Snowblood, Love Song of Vengeance dives even deeper into the world of poetic revenge and stylized violence. This sequel follows Yuki's daughter as she continues her mother's bloody quest for justice, proving that the samurai spirit of vengeance wasn't a one-hit wonder, but a cultural movement that Hollywood couldn't ignore. This film doubles down on the stunning visuals and ruthless action that made the original a cult classic. Director Toshiya Fujita's use of slow-motion blood sprays, dramatic camera angles, and haunting musical scores creates an almost operatic tone that elevates revenge to art form. It's as much about mood and style as it is about swords clashing and enemies falling. Hollywood filmmakers took notice, especially as they searched for ways to make their own revenge movies stand out from the crowd. The blend of beauty, brutality, and a strong female lead in Love Song of Vengeance directly influenced filmmakers like Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez, who turned these elements into iconic moments in Kill Bill and beyond. Beyond style, this sequel explores the psychological toll of revenge, showing how it can consume a person across generations. It's a darker, more introspective film that adds layers to the samurai revenge genre. Hollywood's later revenge thrillers adopted this depth, moving beyond mindless violence to more nuanced stories of trauma and justice. Lady Snowblood, Love. Song of Vengeance also helped cement the image of the deadly, stylish female assassin in global pop culture, a trope that continues to thrive in action cinema today. This film showed that female characters could be just as deadly, complex, and compelling as their male counterparts, a lesson Hollywood was only beginning to learn. In short, this sequel wasn't just a follow-up, it was a bold statement that samurai cinema could keep evolving and influencing the world. Hollywood's most memorable revenge films owe a debt to this haunting, beautiful, and brutal masterpiece. Kill, 1971. Kill isn't your typical samurai flick, it's a dark comedy that mocks the very samurai myths it depicts. Directed by Kihachi Okamoto, this film blends brutal swordplay with biting satire, offering a sharp, hilarious critique of feudal Japan's power structures and samurai codes. It's equal parts bloodbath and belly laugh, a rare mix that caught Hollywood's eye for its fearless tone. The story follows Goro, a ronin trying to avoid trouble but constantly dragged into violent chaos. Okamoto's script exposes the absurdities and hypocrisies of samurai society, showing warriors as flawed humans rather than noble legends. The film's playful, self-aware humor set it apart from the earnest samurai epics of the time. Hollywood, especially during the 70s, when genre bending and subversion were the rage, found inspiration in Kill's willingness to poke fun at conventions while still delivering thrilling action. The film anticipated the postmodern approach Hollywood would adopt decades later in movies that mix humor, violence, and genre commentary. Think Kill Bill or even The Princess Bride's martial arts sequences. The sword fights in Kill aren't just brutal, they're choreographed with a wink, playing with audience expectations and turning classic tropes on their head. This fresh take gave Hollywood filmmakers ideas about balancing spectacle with satire, showing that samurai stories could be both serious and cheeky. More than just a comedy, Kill explores themes of fate, loyalty, and the randomness of violence in a chaotic world. It challenges the audience to question what honor really means, especially when the lines between good and bad are so blurred. In essence, Kill helped Hollywood realize that samurai films didn't have to be solemn and straightforward. They could be smart, funny, and wildly entertaining all at once. Its bold mix of humor and violence opened creative doors that Hollywood has been walking through ever since. Zatoichi at Large, 1972. If you thought A Blind Swordsman couldn't steal the show, Zatoichi at Large proves otherwise. Part of the iconic Zatoichi series, this 1972 film blends action, humor, and surprisingly heartfelt moments into a samurai story that Hollywood found impossible to ignore. Zatoichi isn't your typical stoic warrior. He's a flawed, sometimes funny, always deadly character who fights injustice with a cane and a razor-sharp sword hidden beneath. What makes Zatoichi at Large stand out is how it mixes genre elements, comedy, drama, and action, while exploring themes of honor and survival. The film's pacing keeps you on the edge, from lightning-fast sword fights to quieter, more emotional scenes that reveal Zatoichi's humanity. It's a masterclass in balance and storytelling. Hollywood took inspiration from Zatoichi's unique blend of charm and danger, paving the way for action heroes who aren't perfect but are fiercely skilled and deeply relatable. The characters' swagger and wit influenced Western anti-heroes, while the film's dynamic swordplay set new standards for choreography and fight direction. This film, and the Zatoichi series overall, challenged the traditional samurai hero archetype by showing a man who's vulnerable, flawed, and morally complex, traits that became staples in Hollywood's revisionist westerns and samurai-inspired action movies. The Blind Swordsman became a symbol of how disability and strength can coexist, adding a new layer to the warrior myth. Zatoichi at Large also popularized the concept of the wandering hero, a trope Hollywood embraced in films about drifters, bounty hunters, and reluctant warriors fighting for justice. This character archetype remains a cornerstone of action and Western cinema. In short, Zatoichi at Large isn't just another samurai film. It's a vibrant, multifaceted story that influenced Hollywood's understanding of what a hero could be. Its mix of humor, heart, and hard-hitting action continues to echo in modern cinema. Red Sun, 1971. Red Sun is a rare beast, a true East meets West samurai Western crossover that dared to mix cultures, genres, and legends. This 1971 French-Italian-Spanish production stars Toshiro Mifune, Japan's samurai cinema titan, alongside Charles Bronson, an American Western icon. Together, they deliver a gritty story that bridges two cinematic worlds like never before. The plot revolves around a samurai escorting a stolen sword across the American frontier, teaming up with a cynical outlaw to recover it. This fusion of samurai code and Western grit creates a fresh narrative cocktail that Hollywood was quick to drink up. The clash and eventual camaraderie between Mifune's honorable warrior and Bronson's rough gunslinger highlights the shared themes of loyalty, honor, and survival in both genres. Red Son stood out because it didn't just borrow samurai elements for a Western. It blended the two with respect and style. The film's action scenes combine samurai swordsmanship with classic Western gunfights, offering audiences a thrilling hybrid experience. This kind of genre mashup inspired Hollywood filmmakers to experiment with cross-cultural storytelling and broaden the appeal of samurai motifs. Beyond action, Red Son explores cultural contrasts and mutual respect, a theme Hollywood later revisited in movies that brought East Asian characters and stories into Western settings. The film paved the way for Hollywood's growing interest in samurai and martial arts themes during the 70s and beyond. Though Red Son isn't the most critically acclaimed samurai or Western film, its influence is undeniable. It showed that East and West could meet not just in story, but in spirit, inspiring Hollywood productions that celebrated cultural fusion and complex heroes. Simply put, Red Son is the cinematic handshake that connected samurai tradition with Western bravado, lighting a fire for Hollywood's ongoing fascination with both worlds. It's a must-watch for anyone curious about how two legendary genres collided and changed cinema forever. Shogun Samurai 1978. When it comes to epic samurai dramas, Shogun's samurai towers like a mountain over the genre, and Hollywood definitely took notice. Released in 1978, this sprawling historical saga dives headfirst into the ruthless political power struggles of feudal Japan, mixing blood-soaked battles with palace intrigue on a grand scale. It's the kind of film that demands your full attention, rewarding viewers with breathtaking spectacle and hard-hitting drama. The story centers on the fierce rivalry between rival clans vying for control of the shogunate, the military government that ruled Japan. Packed with a star-studded cast and intense sword fights, Shogun Samurai brings history to life with a visceral punch. What makes it stand out is the seamless blend of personal vendettas and massive political chess games. Honor and survival are constantly at war. This film's influence on Hollywood is subtle but significant. It showed American filmmakers how to marry sprawling epic storytelling with intense, intimate character moments, something that later Western epics like The Last of the Mohicans and Dances with Wolves would strive for. The layered portrayals of loyalty, betrayal, and ambition gave Hollywood a blueprint for creating multidimensional heroes and villains. Moreover, Shogun's Samurai elevated the scale of samurai cinema. The massive battle scenes with hundreds of extras, sweeping landscapes, and elaborate period costumes demonstrated how far Japanese filmmakers had pushed the genre. This grandeur inspired Hollywood directors to think bigger when adapting samurai themes or creating their own historical epics, blending action with pageantry. The film also highlighted the political complexity of samurai life, moving beyond simple good versus evil narratives into murkier territory. This complexity resonated with Hollywood's 70s appetite for morally ambiguous stories and flawed protagonists, influencing the tone of revisionist westerns and samurai-inspired action films. If you're hunting for the kind of samurai film that mixes high-stakes drama, fierce sword fights, and deep political intrigue, Shogun Samurai is a must-see. Its legacy lives on not just in Japanese cinema, but in Hollywood epics that aim for spectacle with substance. In short, Shogun Samurai showed Hollywood how to do samurai storytelling on a grand scale, proving that swords and strategy make a killer combo on the big screen. Samurai films of the 70s didn't just entertain, they revolutionized how Hollywood told stories about honor, violence, and complex heroes. From gritty revenge epics to sprawling political dramas, these films rewired the action genre and gave us some of the most unforgettable characters ever put on screen. Which of these samurai legends have you seen? Drop your favorites in the comments, hit subscribe for more deep dives, and keep your swords sharp and your stories sharper.